Hello YouTubers, how are you doing? I hope you are well, because I'm feeling great. Thank you so much for the comments as usual, been absolutely fantastic. It's blown me away how well the channel's doing so far in its early days. So yeah, well climbing up to the 200 subscribers, so thank you very much, keep it going. So this is the final video. This is me summarising everything that I found about the X Sight II HD. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to put links to all of the other 5 in-depth parts of the review that I've done, so that if you want to look at them now, pause the video, click on those links. They should open up in separate windows if you've not seen them, and this video is all about the summary of it all. So I'll do that now. Okay, and we're back. So hopefully you've caught up on the other parts. Apologises for being a little bit long, but people have been wanting me to do proper in-depth reviews on everything to do with the scope. And this video might be a little bit long, so again, bear with it. I've got a lot of stuff to go through. I've got bits of paper that I'm going to have down to the side of me, and I'm going to try and go through everything on this. Now, one thing I want to make abundantly clear is I am not sponsored in any way to do this. This site I brought with my own money. I'm not sponsored, nobody's given me the site. This is my honest, warts and all review of the scope itself. So without that, we'll crack on. Okay, I have got pages and pages and pages of notes to go through on this scope. So what a lot of people get a bit fed up of really long videos, so I'll cut straight to the chase at the beginning and tell you basically my overall impressions of this scope, and then I'll go a little bit deeper into the review of it all as well. So you know, those guys that want the information straight there, straight away, you're going to get it now. Basically, if you want a scope for target shooting, do not buy this scope. It's not worth the money. I'll say that now. For standard target shooting, this scope is not going to be any better than your good quality optics that you get there, especially for the price point. This is November 16 at the moment, and this scope is retailing in the UK at £749. I think £740 is the cheapest I have found it, but £749 for a scope like this. So for target shooting, the quality of the optics and the LCD screen in here, just not worth it. However, if you're a hunter and you want a good quality hunting scope that gives you HD recording over the top so you can record your kills and show them off to the people, and you want a night scope as well for hunting, this scope, if you can afford it, is great at that. And that is my general overall view on this. It's an expensive piece of kit. It's only 2nd generation technology. This is the X Sight II, where they've made some changes and updated it, but the electronics in here are nowhere near on a par of modern day technology. The camera that I'm recording on at the moment is a HD camera. It's 5 to 6 years old. It has got massively better functionality and performance than the scope camera on this. I'll put that straight out there now. Okay, so that is my overall initial impression of it for those that just want to skip the video and disappear off now. For those that want a little bit more in-depth involvement in this review, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through some of the good and the bad points. And again, apologies for looking at my notes as we're going through here. So, let's start off with the good points. The build quality is superb. I do like the build quality of this. It is awesome. It's rugged. It's good solid metal. Even the accessories that they give you, for example, with the daylight shade on here and the light reducing aperture on there, brilliant quality, nicely made, beautiful threads on there. Extremely impressed with the build quality. It's all metal. The rubberized buttons on the top up here, so these rubberized buttons up here, it all functions beautifully, and I have had zero problems with the build quality of the scope itself. Another good thing about this is it's one of the only scopes on the market where at a press of a button you can go from daytime to nighttime. Some people will be spending hundreds of pounds on separate nighttime IR lamp kits and everything, and that are mounted up, that stack up this high over the top of the normal scopes. This is all built in, it's there, it just works, and it is literally a press of a button and you go from day to night. So awesome, awesome features on it. Of course, it records. So instead of putting all of those brackets on the back of it, that on the back of normal scopes and trying to line your camera up, and you might have seen that in one of my other videos, this just does it in one little package. Well, fairly little package. It is fairly chunky, it is fairly heavy. But when you think about what you would normally want to do for night scopes and then day scopes, and the ease of being able to change this all across and have the recording facility and have the photo and burst photo capabilities, that's pretty awesome in a nice little package like that. And it's pretty unique to this, and I think you'll struggle to find anything on the market that can actually do this. The ballistic calculator in this is awesome. I have never seen anything like it, and again in the other videos you'll see how it all works, but it just works. I could not believe it the first time I did it. I zeroed the rifle, I think, at about 18.6 meters. Got it nice and zeroed. I then rangefinder out using the scope out to 35 to 40 meters, put the crosshairs on the target, and the target just fell over, or the pellet went in the center. I just could not believe it. I even then decided that I'd go upstairs and do a downward shot at about 20 degrees at about 25 meters, and I got a 5p piece or a dime size grouping just using the ballistics calculator in here. You do have to make sure you put all your pellet weights and everything into it correctly, but you know, you've got to do something, a bit of research, a bit of input from you. But once it's got it, it works. And I am absolutely amazed by how good this is. So for all those guys out there that are, for example, doing night shooting and ratting, and you know the distance that the rats are going to be popping out, you set that range up, you just put the crosshairs on, bang, no hold over, no hold under, bang. You know, putting a little bit of wind if there's a bit of wind in there, and it just works. It is very, very good. Also, because this is a computer in here, it is semi-upgradable. What the manufacturers ATN can do is if there's problems or they want to update you, give you different reticles, etc., they can send you new firmware and you can update this just like a computer. It is modern day technology for rifles. What else we got in here? The support forums. It's a bit hit and miss, I'll be totally honest about this. Like I said, this is a warts and all review. There are problems with the scope. There are reports of people having problems getting hold of the support. All I would say is make sure that number one, you register on the forums. The people on there are quite helpful. Have a bit of Google foo about you, being able to search forums and being able to find your own answers, and you'll generally find a lot of that information. And any issues that I've had pretty good responses through the other members of the community with regards to this scope. ATN support directly, I have not had to deal with them. Now, I made sure that I got my scope through a reseller that deals with ATN Europe, so that if I do get any problems, you go through there. So that would be my major recommendation, is make sure you get it that deals with the country site reseller of ATN, or European in my case, or yeah, if you're in America, obviously America. So that's, you know, from a support point of view, I've personally had a couple of issues and they've been sorted out for me. The rangefinder in here, it's just a nice freebie to have. Yes, this thing loves to have a laser rangefinder. I would just love it off the next version. Bang, rangefind, laser. Just built-in laser into this, perfect. At the moment it doesn't have it. It has the trigonometry based where you put the top and you put the bottom and it works out based on trigonometry. I found it fairly accurate. Yeah, within half a meter, which is good enough on here. But you do have to have a steady aim and steady hand when you're doing the top and the bottom of the target to get the range finding on there. But it's a nice feature to have in here. And the nice thing about it is when you do range find, it then keeps that information and automatically adopts the crosshairs for you in your ballistic calculations. It couldn't be any easier. The reticles. Being able to change the reticles to suit the scenario at a few button clicks is lovely. Being able to change the colours, the types, and the fact that this is upgradable as well. So ATN are bringing in more and more reticles onto here. It's a game changer. It really, really does help, and I do like that. What I do also like about this is that it has profiles built into it, up to 6 profiles. So you can set your bullet characteristics, your zeroing, everything else for the rifle. So for example, on my cricket here, I have it set up in profile 1. It is 0 to 18.6 meters. It's set for the pellet characteristics that I use in this rifle, and it works for me. I can now take this off. I can go and put it onto one of my other rifles, set it up on that one with different pellets, save it as profile 2, quick 0, bang, and away I go. I can take the scope back off again and put it back onto my cricket, re-zero, and away I go. Very, very cool feature. Very, very cool feature. The zeroing on it. We all know about the concept of one shot or two shot, if you want to call it that, zeroing. This makes it a doddle. You do need to make sure that you're properly supported on it. And so, for example, a bipod or some beanbags, and then you just move the crosshairs to where the shot landed. It works the rest out, and you've seen the video. I think it was video part 3, where I did basically 2-shot 0. I've never done that before. It's pretty amazing. So again, another good plus point on that. And another good feature, which I've not actually played with yet, is the recoil shot HD recording. So as long as the unit is switched on, and when you fire the shot, it will then go and say, actually, I'll start recording for you 10 seconds before and 10 seconds after. So effectively, you never miss that kill shot on camera. And of course, you can change that to be a period of up to 30 seconds and 30 seconds before and after. So again, another great feature on here. And I like the fact that because this is an IR sight, a night scope sight as well, that they also supply you, even though it's cheap, an IR torch on there as well. That is nice. You can take this thing out the box, half an hour messing around, getting used to it, and you can go night shooting with this. And the torch is not too bad for a freebie. Yeah, let's be blunt. It is a cheap torch. It works up to 50 to 100 meters, no problems. But those serious, of course, will just change it. And the fact that it's all Picatinny mounted, etc., that is nice as well, because if you can just swap this torch out and put on a new torch, and away you go. So those are definitely the good things I found about this scope. And I wanted to get them out of the way first because I do like this scope. I think this is a cool scope. For the money, yes, it's expensive, but it's a cool scope. Okay, so let's go on to some of the bad stuff. This list is a bit longer, and like I said, this is a warts and all. So let's get straight to it. As I said before, this is a HD camera. And the elephant in the room with this camera is the HD quality. I think it's video number 5, part 5, where we went through the HD quality. The camera I'm recording on now is twice as good as the HD quality on this. And the camera that I'm recording on now is 6 years old. The HD quality on this is low generation technology in here. Now, yes, they have had to do lots of stuff to get the calculator, the crosshairs, and all of the other bits and pieces in there. But the chip in here, the processing unit, is not quick enough. And the optics and the quality of HD you get in here is not great at all. And this is why I say it is not a good replacement for target shooters, backyard plinkers, those that are after good scores. It's not a scope for you. It's not for that. It will do it, but it's certainly not the scope for that if that's all you want to do. The biggest problem with this quality is when you're down at the lower range zoom, in my case here 3 times zoom, the quality is average. It is about, I would say, if I compared the camera that I'm looking at now, I would say it is about an 8 out of 10 compared to that camera at its lowest range. As soon as you zoom up into the 10 to 14 on this scope, the quality goes downhill massively. Pixelization, and that is purely down to the fact that this is a digital zoom camera and not a very good one at that. It's 3 times optical. It's reasonable, but as soon as you go higher up, you get that big pixelation issue, and it does cause a problem. Now, like I said, it's fine if you are hunting and you're taking things out. I've got videos in there. I think again in part 5 of the quality, we've got videos in there of up to 50 to 60 meters targeting some birds on the top of a roof. It is good enough to hunt with, but it is not good enough for target shooting. But we'll leave that one out of the way. Everybody, I think, knows that about this scope. You search anywhere on the internet, all the reviews are saying that about this scope. The HD quality is not good. It's nothing to write home about. The next problem with this is, whilst it's recording, it is sluggish. It is as sluggish as hell. It's slower than a snail on a frosty path on a winter's day. It is that slow. For example, if I'm recording and I decide that I want to zoom in, I press the button and keep it pressed. I let go of it. 10 seconds later, it's still zooming in. And my HD camera I'm recording on, again, I'm sorry to keep saying this, but it's a good example. The HD camera, while it's recording, I can zoom in, zoom out, no problems. Not a problem at all. This can't do it. It is a big problem, and I'm sure it will get better with firmware updates and newer versions of this scope. But be prepared for that. If you do invest in one of these, be prepared for some frustrations. And the biggest problem that I've had with this is it hangs a lot. I've had this scope just literally crash on me, where none of the buttons will work, nothing will happen, and I've had no choice but to power it off and power it all back on, which takes up to 15 seconds to do all of that, which means my target, my hunting target, could have gone. Now, if I'm target shooting, which is sort of contrary to what I'm saying about this scope, but if I was target shooting, that's not a problem. If I'm trying to range find a bird and look at a bird and then set my shot up, and then I'm trying to do record and the thing's crashing on me, it's going to cause a problems. I've been playing with this scope now for nearly a month, and I have had it crash on me at least 6 times during that testing. So I'd say in about 12 hours of operation, I've had it crash on me about 6, maybe more times on me, where I have had no choice but to power it off and power it back on. Sometimes even the power off button doesn't work, and I have to disconnect the battery, the external battery. So it is new technology. Like I said before, this is military grade stuff that now you're getting in the consumer market for under £1,000. It's going to have problems with it. Which brings me nicely on when we talked about the battery. Here we have the 4 AA batteries that go in there. Now, if you use alkali batteries in there, I'll be surprised if you could even switch the thing on. If you use lithiums in there, I'll be surprised if you get an hour usage out of it, if that. And of course, you're going to be using rechargeable ones as well. You're going to spend most of your time backwards and forwards doing the recharger or putting in new battery slots. To be honest, I think ATN should have done away with this completely, especially because they offer the USB charging part. If you're going to use one of these scopes, you need external batteries. No doubts about it. Absolutely no doubts about it. You can go to ATN and get their battery pack if you want. If you want to pay the $100 for it, with a cable and a battery pack that you can buy off eBay for $20, $30. Oh, and a nice little pouch that to put it all in that goes over your stock, which will only fit certain types of stock, and of course won't work on bullpups. But personally, I would say go out, go to eBay, go to Amazon, get yourself a good quality battery, external battery, get a good quality lead, connect the lead in, and you're good to go. So it is power hungry to do that. So I'm putting that down as a bad point, but it's easily resolved. And it doesn't add too much weight if you choose wisely. And again, I will leave links down for you to find those batteries. Is it heavy? Yes, it's heavy. It's 1.2 kilograms without batteries. By the time I've added everything else onto it, we're looking at about 1.3 kilograms worth of weight, and that's quite a chunky weight to have on a scope. But you got to remember the capabilities. We're getting night scope in here, we're getting rangefinder in here, we're getting HD recording on here. I know that if I set my previous scope back up on here, and I put my camcorder and the brackets, and then I'll try to put some night capability on top of it, I would certainly be over 1.3 kilograms weight. Pretty sure of it. Plus all the aggro, setting it all up and aligning it all up. So yes, it is heavy, but it's manageable and it's good for what it does. One other thing, this USB connector. This is a bad design. Now I'm not using a right angle USB, I'm just using a straight USB connector here. But this USB connector is a weak point on the whole scope, especially considering it is used, what you use to power the rifle, because you're going to need an external battery. The problem is if that USB breaks, you're screwed. Let's put it bluntly, you are screwed. And the ways that this can break is quite simple, by just knocking it too hard. Now you can get around this a little bit and mitigate by putting a right angled USB bracket in here. That's not a problem, and I've got one on order to do that, but this is definitely a weak point, and I am so conscious of this cable sticking out and just the rifle, just by accident, just falling over, or me just brushing it and snapping this cable. If I snap that connector, there is currently a thread on ATN about a guy that has been plugging this in and plugging it out too much that it's lost connection internally. And his scope is screwed. He's now fighting to try to get ATN to get it replaced because they want $150 off him to fix it. The chances are is the USB connector inside has just lost its soldering because it's been wiggled too much. So this is definitely a weak point on the whole scope. Mitigated by using a right angle one so that it's more flush and more profile and not so prominent as this. But watch out for that. And I believe if you get the external ATN battery pack, then they actually do give you a right angle one to go on there. And whilst we're in this area, if you want a power USB, you have to have this cover off. Which of course means all of your ports in here can get wet and dirty. Now, I've been told also that if you get the external ATN battery pack, that they actually give you a proper cover with a cable, the USB cable can slide into, so that you can use the USB, but the rest of the ports are covered up. I've not seen that or seen any pictures of it yet, so do your own research on that. But just be aware that if you're going to use external batteries yourself, you need to be aware of that. Okay, so what else we got? The video file format, it's stored in .mov, which is basically Apple Time movie player. That can cause some problems if you're trying to connect it up to your computer. Quite a lot of people won't have the codecs on the video on their PC for that, but again, that's easily solved. Just one to watch out for. What I don't like about it is that when you're recording using these buttons and you want to go into the menu, it forces you to stop recording. It's a bit of a shame, especially if you're trying to range find. So let's say, for example, I can see a pigeon, I'm recording, the pigeon pops up, I want to range find it. As soon as I hit the menu button to do the rangefinder, it says, do you want to stop the recording? And I've got no choice. I go, yes, and it lets me rangefind, or I go, no, and I can't rangefind. So I wish they would fix that on there as well, because of that is a bit of a pain in the backside, especially if you've hit record and then you've forgotten to hit record again. You've taken your shot and it's too late. The rangefinder can be difficult to use. You have to have a very steady hand. When you think about trigonometry with the angle, if you get these two distances slightly wrong, the greater the distance, the bigger the error. So I've had times where I've been a little bit shaky on the hand putting the top and the bottom mark on, and it has given me a difference of up to 6 meters. It does take practice. Now luckily when you press the button it flashes and waits for you to be stable before it takes the measurement and then does the same at the bottom. But it does take practice. I really hope in the future versions they stick a laser rangefinder or just have a handheld one to do it, to get yourself accurate. Once you've got it, the ballistic calculator in here works brilliantly on that. Price. Well, it comes down to, yes, 750 quid. It's a lot of money, but you're getting a lot for it if you can live with the good and the bad points on there. So I'm not going to really say price is a bad point on here. For what else is out there in the market for what you're getting? Let's put it this way, if you're looking at this video, you're probably not even thinking about the price, let's be honest. You probably already says, yes, I'm willing to pay that money. And you know what? I do want one. Other bad things on here, the GPS and the Wi-Fi and the app connectivity. You know, we can see the big sticker on here, that's embossed logo on here. Great features. Switch them off. The GPS, basically, it's a global positioning to give you geo-tagging to say, oh look, this is where I was when I shot this rabbit. Do you really want it? If you do, it's going to drain your battery quite a lot. I'd say about 10 to 20% extra drain on your battery. And the Wi-Fi connectivity. Well, the only real reason to use that at the moment I can see is on the app that I showed in one of the videos. And as you can see in the videos, the app is terrible. Let's be honest, it's terrible at the moment. Hopefully it will get better, but it just stutters all over the place. The live view that you look at is a stripped down live view, so you can't see exactly what's on here. There is a way of getting the video images off here through your phone, through the app, but it's very flaky, it connects, it disconnects all the time. And the easiest way to get the images off here is I put the USB cable straight into your computer, or take the SD card out and put the SD card in your computer and take them directly off. But the app is in its early days. It's a cool little feature, it's great marketing, but is it usable? No, not at all. I can't see it being usable at all. It certainly ain't going to shoot like that. You might give it to somebody who's sat next to you so they can look and see what you're doing, but it's not really worth it, to be honest. So I'm giving that a bad at the moment. It's nice to have. It might get better with firmware updates and with app updates, but don't be buying this for the GPS or for the Wi-Fi. Use it as a standalone scope, standalone recorder, and take the card out and use the card. And while we're at the scope itself, the focus knob, that is extremely stiff. Now, I'm not the only one. I've gone around on the forums and had a look, and lots of people have complained about this focus knob being stiff. It is very stiff. I think I know why they've done it, but it could be a little bit looser, and it has loosened off a little bit in the month that I've had it, but to a degree where it's extremely difficult to get that focus right. It is a marked improvement over the version 1 of this scope, where it was a twist on the barrel because of literally you were trying to do this when you've got the IR in the way, and it was difficult, so they turned it into a twist knob. It works, but it's extremely stiff. I think they need to revisit this one a little bit more. Okay, so I think I've covered pretty much the major things that I found about this. I'd say overall, the good points: it's a night scope, it's a day scope, the ballistic calculator and the HD recording, all in one nice unit. The bad points with it is the HD recording is not great, it's not brilliant. It's slow, it stutters, but it does work if you're willing to live with that. So, is this a scope for you? I would basically say, if you are a techie and you're willing to invest in early technology to get the benefits that you're getting, then yes, it's the scope for you. Be prepared to get software crashes, prepared to be a bit frustrated, be prepared to mess around with batteries and configure this up the way it suits you. If you are a hunter that wants a night/day scope and HD recording facilities, yes, it will work for you. But if you are someone that is looking to say, well, I want to be able to do my target shooting in the garden, I want a good clear scope and I want to be able to record it all, no, I would say you are wasting your money with this. Like I said, this is only version 2. I would still class this as generation 1 of this type of scope. It will get better, especially when they start adding in modern day electronics into this. in terms of the capabilities of the video recorder that I'm using at the moment, the HD camera, and its capabilities of zooming and its proper HD quality, even in digital zoom. Once that stuff goes into here, and quite possibly a laser rangefinder, this scope would be unbeatable. Seriously unbeatable. For the price, I would happily pay probably twice as much for it. I am certainly going to be looking out with interest for version 3 of the ATN scope on there. So, hopefully I've given you a summary, a warts for all of what I've found about this scope. How good I found it to be, the good, the bad points, and hopefully that has helped you decide whether or not this is the scope for you, and whether or not you're going to part with that hard-earned money on such an expensive piece of equipment. So, thank you very much. Please give me a thumbs up and a like, and look out for the next videos.